A day of farewell. Once upon a time, in the sun-drenched village of Kijani, a heavy silence wrapped the community as they gathered in the square, their hearts intertwined with sorrow. Tucked away between rolling hills, this village had always thrummed with life and joy, but today was different. Today, they were united in grief for their beloved elder, Mama Zuri, whose spirit had departed from the earthly realm. She was the matriarch they all cherished, a woman whose laughter had filled their homes and whose nurturing ways had woven a tapestry of love throughout their lives. The villagers stood solemnly around the modest wooden coffin adorned with flowers, their eyes glistening with unshed tears. A soft breeze rustled through the leaves of the baobab tree, as if nature itself mourned the loss of a great soul. Children clutched the hands of their parents, while elders exchanged knowing glances, each silently reflecting on the richness of Mama Zuri's legacy and the lessons she imparted. Amidst the sea of black and white garments, one figure stood out, a shaggy brown dog named Django. His coat was dusty from the day's heat, and his amber eyes, usually filled with mischief, now carried an undeniable sadness. Django had been Mama Zuri's companion for many years. He had shared in her joys and sorrows, following her every footstep with devotion. There was a deep bond between them, one that transcended mere pet and owner. As the villagers prepared to say their final goodbyes, Django sensed the unfamiliar stillness in the air. He paced around the coffin, sniffing the flowers adorning it, and then, as if a switch had been flipped, he threw back his head and let out a series of barks, each echoing through the hearts of everyone present. The sound was raw and desperate, a plea that rippled through the crowd like a wave. "Why does he bark?" An anxious voice broke through the silence from the back of the gathering. "Does he not understand that Mama Zuri is gone?" Discussions rippled among the villagers. Some hushed whispers spoke of grief and loss, while others exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of how to interpret Django's behavior. They were confused. Hadn't he realized she was no longer with them? Baba Kofi, the village's revered storyteller and wise elder, stepped forward, his demeanor calm amidst the chaos brewing around him. With a presence that carried weight, he raised his hands, and the villagers quieted, drawn to the wisdom he had to share. "Let me tell you a story," Baba Kofi began, his voice smooth as honey. "In our history, dogs have been seen as guardians of the spirit world, companions not just in life, but beyond. Perhaps Django barks today not out of confusion, but to communicate something deeper." The villagers leaned in, captivated by the unfolding narrative. Baba Kofi painted a picture through words, of a time long ago when animals were believed to hold the knowledge of the past, the present, and the future. He shared tales of dogs guiding lost souls and watching over their loved ones, bridging the gap between the living and the spirits. Maybe Django signals that Mama Zuri's spirit is still with us, wanting to share her love one last time, to remind us of the bonds we have forged together, Baba Kofi concluded, his eyes twinkling under the shade of the tree. A hush fell over the crowd as the villagers considered this notion. They turned their gazes to Django, who continued to bark, each sound growing softer yet filled with an urgency that tugged at their hearts. In that quiet moment, the village of Kijani felt a profound shift. Grief began to morph into wonder, igniting the understanding that Mama Zuri's essence still lingered among them. Django, sensing the change, fell silent and laid down beside the coffin, resting his head upon his paws. The villagers joined together in shared remembrance, each recalling their fondest memories of Mama Zuri. Her hearty laughter, her unwavering kindness, her ability to solve every problem with a gentle touch. As they mourned, they realized that Mama Zuri would forever remain part of their lives. With each shared story, each tender memory, the essence of her spirit lived on, echoing through the hearts of those she had touched. That day, they laid Mama Zuri to rest, but in the depths of their sorrow, a flicker of hope blossomed. The villagers understood that the bond they held with her and with one another was a treasure that would never fade, and Django was their steadfast guardian, silently promising to keep Mama Zuri's memory alive. In the midst of their aching hearts, they began to discover that love never truly dies. Whispers of wisdom. As the villagers lingered near the freshly covered earth, lost in their thoughts, Baba Kofi stood among them, an aura of calm surrounding him. The weight of loss hung in the air, but he sensed a flicker of hope within their sorrow. Today would mark a transition, not only for them but for their bonds with each other and with the spirit of Mama Zuri. "Gather around," Baba Kofi called out, his voice warm and inviting. The villagers, still in mourning garb, hesitated but then began to shuffle toward the old man. He had a way of capturing their attention, a magnetism that drew them in, promising solace in the face of despair. As they formed a semicircle beneath the sprawling branches of the baobab tree, the heartbeat of Kijani, Django remained close to Momazuri's grave, his ears perked up, watching the gathering with keen interest. The dog's eyes flashed with recognition, sensing that they were about to embark on a journey of remembrance. Today, we honor our beloved Momazuri, but we must also honor the lessons she instilled in us, Baba Kofi said, settling into the familiar role of storyteller. Even in sorrow, there are whispers of wisdom to be unearthed. He paused, allowing his words to linger, letting the villagers digest the moment. Many of you may not know, but there's an age-old tale passed down through generations, a tale that speaks to the bond between humans and the spirits of those we love. Eyes widened in curiosity, and those who had been gloomy began to lean in closer. Baba Kofi continued, his voice a cradle for their shared memories. Long ago, in this very land, there was a wise woman named Mama Nia. She was revered for her advice and held dear by her community, for she had an uncanny ability to connect with spirits. Baba Kofi's words flowed like a melodic river, painting vivid pictures in the villagers' minds. He spoke of the times Mama Nia would wander into the forest, seeking guidance from the spirits of the ancestors. She believed that those who departed remained invested in the lives of their loved ones, helping them through trials and trepidations. Much like today, the villagers sought comfort in her words during days of mourning. One day, as she stood at the edge of the river, a great storm brewed in the sky, darkening the afternoons. Mama Nia prayed for guidance, and through the winds, she heard whispers calling her name, he recounted, his voice both soothing and electrifying. Caught in his storytelling web, the feelings of grief began to lift. The villagers envisioned Mama Nia with her arms outstretched toward the storm as she listened intently to the message of the wind. Those around Baba Kofi began to reflect on their own encounters with Momazuri, memories flooding in like a gentle rain. She learned that to connect with the departed, one must acknowledge them, speak to them, and share their own stories, their joys and sorrows. From then on, she guided her village to embrace their memories, inviting the spirits to remain present among them, Baba Kofi said, his voice softer but filled with gravity. Amina, hearing this tale, felt a spark ignite within her. The notion that their beloved Momazuri could still exist in spirit, guiding them and loving them from beyond, presented a glimmer of hope. She thought of how Momazuri had encouraged her to embrace her voice, to sing her heart out, and to share tales of adventure. As Baba Kofi spoke of how the villagers began to gather in remembrance of their loved ones, sharing stories, dances, and songs, laughter began to bubble among them. Far away, the sun dipped lower, painting the skies in a blaze of colors, mirroring the transformation in their hearts. Today, I invite you all, in honor of Momazuri, to share a memory, a story, or even a whisper of love that you hold dear, he encouraged, looking over the crowd. The more we share, the more she lives on. One by one, the villagers began to speak. Old Uncle Ndidi, with a glimmer of nostalgia in his eyes, recounted how Momazuri had once saved his goat from drowning in the river, laughing about how she'd scolded him for not watching over it properly. The villagers chuckled, their faces lighting up with the joy of recalling Momazuri's delight when she'd pulled the goat from the water. Soon, several others shared their stories. One of her legendary herbal teas that could cure any ailment, another of her infamous dancing skills that could bring the entire village together in celebration. Laughter mixed with tears as they recounted shared moments, offering a tribute to the woman who had woven their community together. Django, sitting vigil by the grave, perked up as he heard these stories. His tail wagged slightly, and a spark of energy returned to his spirit as if Momazuri herself was present in those moments. With each story shared, the air seemed to brighten, and the heaviness of grief was lifted, replaced with warmth and connection. As the sun began its descent, cloaking the village of Kijani in a golden hue, Baba Kofi concluded, every story shared is a thread connecting us to Momazuri. Whenever you share a memory, you're weaving a tapestry of love that will never fade. Let these whispers of wisdom guide us forward as we carry her spirit in our hearts. In that sacred gathering beneath the ancient baobab, the villagers felt united, their sorrow transformed into action. With each passing moment, they recognized that Momazuri's love had not faltered with her passing. Rather, it had evolved into a guiding light for them all. A girl and her heart. Amina lingered at the edge of the village square, Her curious eyes filled with the remnants of tears as she watched the villagers share laughter and memories of Mama Zuri. While the stories brought moments of joy, they also tugged at her heart like a loose thread begging to be pulled. Mama Zuri was not just an elder to her, she had been a gentle guide, a warm embrace in Amina's world. In the shadows of the baobab tree, Amina could still hear the echoes of Baba Kofi's storytelling mingling with the laughter of her neighbors, but her heart felt heavy. She thought of the moments she had spent in Mama Zuri's small, sunlit kitchen, stirring her famous herbal teas or practicing her storytelling skills. Those memories were now bittersweet, and Amina missed the sound of Mama Zuri's laughter ringing through the air like music. Why does everything feel so empty? Amina pondered as she stood amidst the fading warmth of the sun. With her heart weighing her down, she slipped away from the village square, deciding to seek solace in a hidden corner of the garden that Mama Zuri had tended for years. The vibrant blooms had always felt alive, much like the stories she had shared. The garden was a secret world filled with the fragrances of herbs and flowers. Walking through the narrow path, Amina felt a flicker of warmth wrap around her. The colors burst into life as she brushed her fingers against the petals of purple basil and golden marigolds. In this haven, she could almost imagine Mama Zuri there with her, humming softly as she tended to the plants, her hands weathered and wise. Amina. The soft voice of Django broke through her reverie. The dog appeared from behind the blooming hibiscus, his coat dusty but his spirit unwavering. He padded toward her and leaned against her leg. Amina knelt and hugged him tightly. "You miss her too, don't you?" she whispered into his fur, feeling the familiar warmth radiate from him. His presence was comforting, a connection to Mama Zuri that she desperately clung to. Feeling a pang of sadness, Amina remembered the stories that Mama Zuri had encouraged her to share. The thought sparked something deep within her, a determination to honor her mentor's legacy. "Perhaps it's not too late," she whispered to Django. "Maybe I can tell a story from Mama Zuri." With renewed purpose, Amina sought to find a way to weave her feelings into a story that reflected the love and lessons Mama Zuri had imparted. As she thought, she realized the garden itself was a living testament to her mentor's teachings, a place where life, growth, and love thrived. Amina closed her eyes, imagining herself at the village square, sitting beneath the wide branches of the baobab tree, surrounded by villagers eager to listen. She visualized the way Mama Zuri would lean in, her eyes sparkling, encouraging Amina to share her imagination with the world. With this vivid image in her mind, Amina began to craft her first story in Mama Zuri's honor. It would be about a little girl who tended a garden filled with enchanted flowers that bloomed with each act of kindness she performed. Each flower symbolized a story of love, joy, and the connections between the living and the spirit world. "The girl shall name the flowers after all the people she loves," Amina murmured to Django as she stroked his coat, "and every time she remembers them, the flowers will bloom even brighter." Django nodded as if he understood, his eyes watching her intently. Amina stood and took in the beauty of the garden one last time before she committed to her story. She realized she had the power to keep Mama Zuri alive through her words, sharing the joy and lessons she had learned. "Let me create these stories and carry her spirit with me," she resolved. Brightening with newfound determination, Amina made her way back to the village square, her heart alight with purpose. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue that mirrored her resolve. As she approached the circle of villagers who continued to reminisce, Amina felt a mix of apprehension and excitement. Would they accept her words? Would they listen, just as they had to Mama Zuri? But rather than linger in doubt, she embraced the warmth of her memories. Stepping forward, Amina cleared her throat, all eyes turning to her with curiosity and anticipation. "Everyone," she began, her voice trembling but gaining strength, "I have a story to tell in honor of Mama Zuri." With each word, Amina's confidence grew. She painted vivid images of her garden girl, the enchanted flowers blooming as acts of kindness transformed the world. The villagers listened, captivated by her imagination and emotion. The laughter and joy of shared memories fused into Amina's tender narrative, interspersed with the warmth of their shared bonds. Django lay at her feet, barking softly, as Amina's words captivated the audience, transporting them to a world filled with love and possibility. She spoke of bravery, compassion, and the essence of community, her voice echoing the sentiments that Mama Zuri had nurtured within her. As the story rose into the twilight air, Amina felt Mama Zuri's spirit enveloping her, encouraging and proud. The villagers leaned in closer, their eyes shining with a mix of nostalgia and renewal, as Amina brought them together through the art of storytelling, revealing the truth that love and memories can never be extinguished. In that moment, Amina understood that she possessed the gift of words, the ability to blossom like the flowers in her garden, sharing stories as a means of connecting with both the living and the spirit of those they had lost. Mama Zuri would never truly be gone as long as love continued to flourish. The barking truth. The sun rose over the village of Kijani, casting a warm golden glow that filtered through the branches of the old baobab tree. As the vibrant shapes of dawn began to unravel, Django lay curled in a patch of sunlight beside Mama Zuri's grave. His heart heavy with sorrow yet filled with a flicker of determination, the dog sensed the impending change. Each day since Mama Zuri's passing, something within Django had stirred, a feeling of urgency that he could not ignore. He had watched the villagers ponder his barks, puzzled expressions crossing their faces. Perhaps they thought him merely a grieving animal unable to comprehend the finality of death, but deep down, Django knew he was trying to communicate a truth that transcended their earthly realm. As the day unfolded, the villagers went about their routines, whispering words of remembrance and sharing fleeting glimpses of laughter, but there remained a shadow cast over their faces, the absence of Mama Zuri. With Amina stepping into the light of storytelling, the villagers were slowly adapting, yet the air still buzzed with questions about life, loss, and the essence of their beloved matriarch. Django rose, his instincts awakening within him as he slowly turned toward the village square. He was determined to show them what he felt, something no one else seemed to see. With each step he took, he sensed the power of her spirit guiding him, compelling him to act. The gathering of villagers in the square had transformed into an eager discussion led by Baba Kofi, who was recounting tales of Mama Zuri's wisdom. As Django approached, he heard Baba Kofi's melodic voice weaving through the crowd, soothing hearts brimming with nostalgia. "We are bound by the stories we share," Baba Kofi said, "and though Mama Zuri is no longer here, her love surrounds us. It is in the laughter we share and the tears we shed." Django continued to pace until he positioned himself near the storyteller, facing the villagers. Without thinking, he barked, a sharp, keen sound that sliced through the hushed atmosphere. The villagers turned to him, their faces etched with both surprise and concern. "It's as if Django wants to speak," Amina interjected, her voice highlighting the significance of the moment. She felt a connection within herself to the dog, an understanding that swelled as they both sought clarity. "What if he's trying to tell us something?" Django felt the warmth of Amina's words enveloping him, their spirit harmonizing in a way that transcended words. He lifted his nose to the air, inhaling deeply before releasing another determined bark, more fervent this time. He was driven by an energy that urged him to reveal his truth. Seeing his fervor, Baba Kofi stepped forward. "Perhaps he senses something we do not," he said, a hint of intrigue in his voice. As he paused, the villagers bristled with anticipation, eager to understand Django's call. Determined, Django moved away from the crowd, trotting toward the burial ground, pouring at the earth near a cluster of flowers that had begun to bloom in recent days, vibrant and full of life. The villagers watched in awe as he settled down, watching intently as if waiting for them to follow. As the murmurs of confusion quieted, Amina took a bold step forward. "Let's see what he wants to show us." With a gentle tug on Django's collar, she called him back to her, and they both returned to the villagers, prompting a collective curiosity. Django dashed back and forth between the flowers he had uncovered, barking and wagging his tail, a mixture of excitement and urgency shimmering in his amber eyes. Something deep in his heart told him this was the moment to share the truth. The villagers exchanged glances, their uncertainty shifting to intrigue. "It's like he is leading us," one villager remarked. They began to gather around, slowly forming a semicircle that surrounded Amina and Django. "What if he is trying to tell us about Mama Zuri's spirit, the legacy she left behind?" Amina suggested, excitement glistening in her eyes. "Her teachings grow and bloom just like these flowers." Baba Kofi nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. Indeed, flowers symbolizing life's continuity. They could embody the love she shared with us all. Django continued to frolic among the blooms, an infectious energy emanating from him. His barks were now softer, resonating with an urgency that felt both playful and poignant. The villagers began to crouch down to examine the flowers more closely, seeing the colors they had previously overlooked. What if we create a garden in her memory? A space where we can come together and remember her, suggested one of the younger villagers. Jaba is right, Baba Kofi agreed. Mama Zuri always nurtured her garden like she nurtured our spirits. This could be our tribute, one that binds us together as a community. Excitement radiated from the crowd as they rallied around the suggestion, ideas and enthusiasm bubbling to the surface. Django barked again, this time with a triumphant spirit, sensing that the villagers were beginning to respond to his call. Amina knelt beside Django, realizing in that moment that her story had transcended the boundaries of imagination. It had invited everyone to engage with the reality of their love for Mama Zuri. Let's each plant a flower, she proposed, her heart swelling with hope. Something that reminds us of her spirit and legacy. The villagers cheered in agreement, uniting in purpose as they ventured to gather supplies and seeds for their new garden project. As they worked together, laughter filled the air, and the connection between them deepened. Underneath the wide baobab tree, Django lay contentedly, basking in the sun as he watched the villagers bring life back to the community. Somewhere in the depths of his soul, he felt Mama Zuri's spirit dancing among them, filled with love and encouragement. Through his barks, along with Amina's words and the villagers' shared memories, they had unearthed a truth that could mend their hearts. A truth echoing that love endures in ways beyond the physical, living on in stories, gardens, and the bonds they all continued to weave together. Sorrows transformed. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting an amber glow over Kajani, the air was charged with a sense of purpose. The villagers gathered near the baobab tree, each clutching seeds and tools, their faces radiating a sense of hope and renewal. Ever since Django's spirited barks had revealed the deeper connection they shared with Mama Zuri, excitement had woven its way into the fabric of their grieving hearts. Amina stood at the forefront, her hands trembling with anticipation. The stories she had shared were like threads stitching together their collective memories, and now they were ready to channel their love for Mama Zuri into planting a garden that would serve as a living testament to her spirit. She felt a mighty sense of responsibility. If she led them, she needed to keep the memory of Mama Zuri alive through their actions. Together, we can turn our sorrow into a beautiful tribute, Amina announced, her voice steady as she looked around at her neighbors. This garden will be filled with flowers that remind us of her love, wisdom, and the joy she brought into our lives. Baba Kofi stood beside her, his weathered hands guiding the villagers with age-old wisdom. A garden is but an extension of the heart. Each flower planted here shall symbolize our cherished memories. Let this be a space of comfort, where we can come to reminisce, share stories, and celebrate life. With shovels and seeds in hand, the villagers, young and old, put their hearts into their work. They dug deep into the earth beneath the baobab, their laughter and chatter mingling as they shared memories and stories of Mama Zuri. With each shovel full of soil that they turned, it was as if they were unearthing their collective joy, transforming their grief into something tangible. The day rolled forward with palpable energy. Amina knelt beside Django, who seemed to know the significance of their work. He wagged his tail eagerly, sensing excitement in the air. She smiled down at him, her heart swelling with affection, knowing he was a bridge connecting the spirits of the past with the living world. Amina distributed the seeds among the villagers. Let's choose flowers that remind us of Mama Zuri. What would she have loved? She prompted, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. Sunflowers. They always followed the sun, just like Mama Zuri followed the light in others, shouted Jaba, the spirited young boy from the village. I remember her beautiful marigold curtains in the kitchen, another villager chimed in. Let's plant those, they always made the place feel warm and welcoming. Yes. And the jasmine. Amina exclaimed, planting her own ideas as the conversation flowed. Mama Zuri said jasmine symbolizes love. Let's surround ourselves with flowers that carry her essence. With enormous enthusiasm, each villager grabbed a handful of seeds and set to work, planting them in rows and circles, weaving them together in a dance that echoed the essence of Mama Zuri's spirit. Laughter spilled from all directions as children raced to help their parents, filling the air with glee. As the villagers dug and planted, grounded in the earth, Baba Kofi took the opportunity to share stories of Mama Zuri. Her kindness to others, the encouraging words she had offered during times of hardship, along with countless little moments that revealed the depth of her love. Amina listened attentively, her heart entwined with the rich tapestry of memories. With each story shared, she felt the burdens on her heart lift just a little more. Mama Zuri was more than just a memory. She was a beacon of love illuminating their path. As the sun began to set, casting radiant hues of orange and purple across the evening sky, the villagers took a step back to admire their handiwork. The garden was transformed, a riot of colors awaited, whispering promises of new beginnings. They had planted not just seeds but hope, connection, and remembrance. "Let's gather here every week," Amina suggested, beaming. "We can take care of the garden together and share stories of Mama Zuri. It can be our special place." "An excellent idea." Baba Kofi nodded in agreement, his eyes twinkling. A sanctuary where joy intertwines with memory, a living legacy. Just as Django barked in agreement, a sense of camaraderie enveloped the villagers. The heaviness that had clouded the square lifted, and cautiously, they began to embrace the laughter and love that had once defined their lives. "I think we should name it," Jaba ventured. "How about the Garden of Memory?" "Yes. This will be where we remember her, and where every flower tells her story," Amina grinned. With that declaration, the villagers found newfound purpose. No longer were they just grieving for Nanny Zuri. They were celebrating her life and committing to tenderly nurturing her memory. They vowed to tend to the garden as a family bound by love, not loss. As darkness settled over Kajani, the villagers shared a meal, laughter rippling through the air, filling the atmosphere with warmth. They recounted more stories, binding their hearts together with the threads of shared experiences, each tale a brushstroke on the canvas of their collective human experience. Sitting beside the garden, Amina looked at Django, who had settled down peacefully, his eyes filled with a knowing wisdom. She recognized that through these acts of love, they had begun to transform their sorrow into something beautiful and lasting. Mama Zuri's spirit was woven into the very essence of who they were as a community, and together, they were nurturing a garden where joy and memory would flourish, reminding them eternally of the love they shared. Memories unleashed. As the first light of dawn crept into the village of Kajani, the sound of laughter echoed through the air. The villagers had gathered once more at the Garden of Memory, their hearts intertwined in a vibrant celebration of life, love, and remembrance. Today was a special day, a day to unleash the stories and memories that lay dormant, waiting for the warmth of shared experience to bring them to life. Amina stood at the center of the garden, her heart swelling with anticipation. She looked around at the blooming flowers and the patchwork of colors surrounding her. Sunflowers, marigolds, jasmine, and more danced in the morning breeze. Each plant was a symbol of their love for Mama Zuri, and she could already hear the echoes of laughter and joy that had once filled her home. "Welcome, everyone," Amina called, her voice ringing with excitement. The villagers gathered closer, their faces adorned with warmth and eagerness. "Today, let's uncover our memories of Mama Zuri, share the stories that fill our hearts, and keep her spirit alive." Baba Kofi stepped forward, leaning on his walking stick, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. "The stories we share are like seeds planted in the soil of our souls. They remind us of who we are and the bonds we hold dear. Let us honor Mama Zuri by bringing forth the memories that dwell within us." A chorus of murmurs rippled through the crowd as they nodded, each heart beating with a different memory, a different tale. Amina felt a surge of love wash over her. The idea that they could unlock these memories together was a gift she had not anticipated. "Remember the stories she used to tell us by the fire?" Amina encouraged, looking into the faces of the villagers. "Let's start there. What do you remember most about her?" An elder named Mama Kazi spoke up, her voice tremulous yet filled with affection. "I recall the night we gathered to listen to her tales of our ancestors," she began, her eyes misty. She painted those stories vividly, bringing our lineage to life. "I felt so proud to be part of our heritage, to understand the sacrifices made for us." Several others chimed in, sharing their favorite memories from those nights when Mama Zuri recounted tales of bravery and love. Laughter erupted as they reminisced about the silly moments, the times she had exaggerated events for effect, or the way she would use props made from leaves and twigs to enhance her storytelling. "I remember how she would always get us to join in on the stories," Amina recalled, her eyes sparkling. "She encouraged us to act out the characters, to become part of the tale. That was her magic, transforming us into storytellers." Baba Kofi smiled, his expression reflecting both nostalgia and pride. "Indeed, Mama Zuri understood the power of storytelling. It is a way of preserving our history and connecting with one another. Let us not just recall her stories, but let us enact them today in her honor. With the village embracing the spirit of the moment, Amina clapped her hands together. Let's create our own scene. Who can join me in storytelling? Children jumped in excitement and rushed to her side, eager to participate. The older villagers chuckled, their spirits lifted by the enthusiasm and vibrancy of the younger generation. They began to organize into groups, each taking turns to reenact the cherished tales of Mama Zuri while weaving in their own creative flair. As the sun climbed higher, skits unfolded, leaving behind laughter and joy. Villagers mimicked the antics of beloved animal characters, imitating the melodies of birds as they retold stories of friendship and courage. As they acted, the garden bloomed with palpable energy. It echoed the memories released into the air. Django roamed among the villagers, barking gleefully and joining in the merriment. His presence stirred even more joy, sprinkling the atmosphere with warmth. He felt the release of joyful energy, resonating with the very essence of Mama Zuri. More stories poured forth, how Mama Zuri had a way of healing with her potions, the way she could cook a feast that felt like a hug wrapped in flavors. They shared how she had once resolved a dispute among neighbors with just a single story, uniting them over their shared laughter. Amina watched as her neighbors flourished in creativity, their spirits unburdened by grief. The memories of Mama Zuri had indeed been unleashed, filling the garden with a vibrant energy that felt like the embrace of a warm sun. And then, in a moment of recognition, Amina had an idea. Let's create a memory book, filled with all our favorite stories about Mama Zuri. We can add drawings, photographs, and even tokens to remind us of the love we've shared. Whenever we feel sad, we can look at it and remember the joy she brought into our lives. Yes, the villagers cheered, recognizing that this idea was more than just a project. It was a living legacy representing their collective love, an ongoing celebration of Mama Zuri. With renewed determination, they gathered materials, papers, pencils, old photographs, shedding their inhibitions and instead allowing memories to breathe freely. Villagers worked together, filling the pages with stories and illustrations by sunset, transforming the memory book into a colorful tapestry of love and tribute. When they finally closed the book, the sun rested peacefully on the horizon. Together, they planted it in the garden, surrounding it with flowers that symbolized the spirit of Mama Zuri. It stood as a testament to what they had achieved, a living memorial and a reminder that even in loss, lives intertwined through love continued to flourish. They looked at one another, hearts woven together in shared experience and admiration, allowing the sweetness of memories to linger in the air. The garden of memory thrived, and so did the love and laughter they all carried. As the last of the sunlight danced upon the petals, Amina felt a warmth envelop her, a reminder that Mama Zuri's spirit lived on, a guardian watching over them. In each shared story and memory unleashed, they had found healing, connection, and an enduring celebration that would sustain them for generations to come. Did you enjoy this video? If so, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to join us for more amazing stories every day. Here at Daily Anything History, there's always something new to discover. See you in the next video.